everybody. A warm welcome back to the Information Security Stack, together with me, Daniel Gustafsson, and Kim Hindart.
Hubba.
Today, Kim, we will continue on our journey from start to finish, as we have talked about for the last 3 episodes. Now, you did an extremely good job, in my opinion, my humble opinion, since I'm part of this program as well, that to explain what the technical aspects of a digital transformation actually means in terms of what the benefits were, what it is actually contain of, and what is it good for you, how you can utilize that in your daily life. Now, we come to the part of the digital transformation journey that is probably the hardest part, I would say. To pick a technical solution is quite easy. You might disagree and whatever, and we're going to talk about disagreement here in a minute. But let's say we have agreed on a technical platform. We have agreed that all the things that Kim explained in the earlier episodes regarding automation and APIs and modern technology is the way to go. Now we have to convince the people in our organization to do it. Hence where we step into the human portion of this transformation. In your humble opinion, Kim Hindart, how is this? And what do we do with people? How do we convince people to agree with you?
Yeah, the main part is it takes a lot longer than changing a technical system.
It does. And let me tell a little story as to why. We're going to go back in time. I'm going to do exactly what Kim did with the technical aspects. I'm going to go back in time here. And I want you to picture a small village in the early 14th century. Small village where people live together. They have done a certain thing in a certain way for a long period of time. And they live in this valley. And they've been living in this valley for as long as they can remember, for generations. And in this little village now, there is a kid who decides to take a peek, or is very interested what is behind the mountains over there. I see those mountains. I see these mountains every day when I wake up. But I have no idea what's behind those mountains. And everyone in the village tells me there's no idea to go and see because there's nothing to see there. Everything that we have here is perfect. Let's not change anything. But this little boy or girl grows up, and here his or her curiosity continues to exist. And one day, he or she packs her bag and say goodbye to their mom and say, I'm gonna go on a journey. And I'm gonna actually go and see what is behind those mountains that I've seen every morning for my entire life. And off they go. And when they reach the peak of the mountains and they look down in the valley behind them, it's even better than in the valley that they currently live in. They have more resources, more food. The nature is even more prettier. It's fantastic. It's everything that this little boy or girl has ever dreamt of but never seen in their life. And super excited, they run back to the village, and they are awesomely excited about what they've seen, and they try to explain to everyone how awesome it was, how fantastic it was. We have to go there. We have to move the entire village there because I can't even explain in words what a benefit it would be for us as a village to move to the next valley behind the mountains. We're gonna increase our productivity. We're gonna get more food resources. Our life is just gonna be better in general. When this curious person comes back from their trip and tells the village this, a couple of things will happen. Some of the villagers will be super excited as well because it sounds really, really amazing and they want to hear more. Some of the villagers will be a little bit more skeptical because, we're not sure yet. I mean, it could be good, it could be bad, but we're kind of undecisive. And then you have the portion of the village that would just bluntly say, no, that sounds horrible. Let's not do it. Why should we move? Don't you understand the risk involved in moving the entire village to another completely different valley, which we've never seen before? We have no experience, so we've never done it before. How are we supposed to be able to live and continue to expand and grow in a situation we are completely unaware of the consequences. This was true hundreds and thousands of years ago, and unfortunately, it's true in 2021 as well. We can now convert this my story about this trip to the next valley behind the mountains to a CTO that goes on a IT convention or sits down with a consultant like Kim Hindart who will tell them about all the brilliant things that you can do with automation and APIs and new technology and cloud services and whatever it might be. And this CTO is super excited about all the news that is out there in the market, and he or she thinks this is the way forward. This is what we're gonna do in our organization. So he runs back to his little village, which is called a company where he lives. And he wants to inform everyone at all time, this is amazing, we're going to start to use APIs, we're going to use cool scripts, we're going to use Ansible, Puppet, Chef, wherever it might be that we could get our hands on to create all of these fantastic scripts so we can have IaaS services, and on top of that we can put our platform services, you see, and then we have a brilliant script that can also launch all of our applications in containers, would you know? It's amazing. And he's super convinced that this is the way forward. The response in the village, meaning the company, will be now identical to the response of the village thousands of years ago from the person who came back from its trip to the next valley behind the mountains. Some will be super eager. Oh, this sounds amazing. I want to listen. I want to hear more. Some will be skeptical. Some will be partially interested, but kind of not want to be part of it. And then you have the people who will sit down with their arms crossed, holding their breath and telling everyone what a horrible idea this is. Let's not do it. We haven't changed a bit for thousands of years in this regard. We are still humans. And there's a reason to why we reflect and react the way we do to news of change, because that is exactly what it is. Someone comes in and screams and shouts and how excited they are about let's change as humans. Let's change our behaviors. Kim, have you ever tried to change anything in your life? A behavior?
Yes, and that is automatically programmed through a direct brain interface.
It is, right?
Mm.
And how great it would be if that was the case.
Yeah.
And I actually know people that would have loved for that to be true.
Yeah. I still think it's a scary thought of having someone else program my feelings, but yeah.
I'm kind of reluctant to that idea as well, to be honest with you. But here's the deal. Whenever that person who was on that IT convention or sat down with that consultant or read the article or saw the YouTube video or wherever he or she got that information about this brilliant news from, the thing is that it was only he or she who was converted to that idea, who was inspired by that idea. And even though it could be the best idea ever, you will always run into people who do not want to change. And here comes human behaviors into play. Us humans have something called fears. And one of our biggest fears is to change. Because change is scary. Could be for multiple reasons. Let's say that we want to change our technical platforms. Okay, so the way we have, for instance, developed our applications for the last 15 years. We're now all of a sudden going to change the way we develop our applications. We're going to make them cloud native. What the heck is cloud native? I never heard of that expression before. And does that mean that I have to do something different? Yes. You're going to have to change the way you code your application. Well, I don't want to do that because I've been doing this for the last 15 years and I don't... No. I have a set way of doing my work every day. I'm comfortable with it. I know it. I'm competent in doing it as well, which is also a human behavior or human need to feel competent. All of a sudden, this drastic change of a technical stack that we want to improve or increase or for whatever reason change the way it looks today will force the people working in your organization to change. And here comes the scary bit. I might not feel competent, so I have to increase my competence, meaning I have to learn something new. And learning something new, once I already know something, is super scary, and it takes time, and I don't want to do it, and I don't feel motivated at all. Or I could be super motivated because I could be that person as well, that, wow, what an opportunity. Yeah, of course I want to change. I want to test. I want to try. That sounds amazing. And you're going to have everything in between those spectrums. And here is the problem when we want to change an organization from a digital perspective and complete the digital transformation. You now have to convince the people working for you that this is a good idea. And I'm gonna challenge anyone listening to this now. Have you ever presented an idea in your organization, or even your family for that matter? You can go back to the smallest of communities called your family and say, I have a brilliant new idea. Have that idea always been received in a positive manner by everyone in the room? The reality of that answer is no. Because they might not tell you, they will just silently disagree. Or they could be super verbal and tell you what this amazingly stupid idea that was. Let's never try that. And you might question yourself thinking, well, it's not a stupid idea. Why do people feel like it's a stupid idea? It's maybe not the idea in itself that's the problem. It's the thought of having to change your behavior, your know-how, your skills, the way you act, the way you do things. That's where we run into an issue.
So we need to change people's feelings.
Yes.
But surely we can remove feelings from this concept.
No. And here's the second portion of it. We can't. Unfortunately, we can't. Because here's the second thing, right, with regarding us humans. We all have human needs, and we all have human feelings. And whatever I feel at this particular time is what I will relate to as my truth. And when I do that, it doesn't automatically then have to be the same feelings like you have. And no, you should not now start a campaign to change people's feelings. That's not what we're telling you. But you have to take into consideration that everyone won't feel and think the same way that you do. So it's going to take time. And according to the research, and it's been done diligent research about this, a change of a behavior takes anywhere between 2 to 2.5 years to fulfill. And that goes for the even smallest thing. Just take a simple example. Have you ever tried to stop smoking, or let go of candy and sugar, or for whatever reason remove something that's been a big portion of your life for a very long time? You know that it's super tricky. I can give you an even easier task. Making your bed every morning. Whenever you get out of bed, make sure you make your bed pretty nice before you leave the house every morning. We can rest assured that we have forgot to do it, or we just didn't care some morning. We just went out of bed and then we just, who cares, right? No, to change the behavior to always make your bed in the morning takes time before that is something you do automatically.
Now I know a bunch of our listeners will say, oh, doesn't everyone make a perfect bed every morning?
No, is the answer to that. And I know that sounds super weird because I'm one of the people who actually make my bed every morning, but no is the simple fact because my wife doesn't. So I know it's true because I make her bed as well in the morning. So let's just point that out and have that said. So it's not part of everyone's behavior. It's absolutely different. And here's the second thing we need to work on. And we're going to talk about this in the second episode. In our next episode, we're going to talk about a purpose to why we have to change. And that's the biggest key here moving forward. If we're going to change something, there needs to be a why connected to it. There needs to be a purpose as to why we have to change. But we'll talk about that more in the next episode.
Surely we can just... surely there has to be a solution where we don't have to change at all.
Well, there is a solution. And that solution, if we don't change at all, is that solution probably will render to us being irrelevant pretty quickly. And that's... Besides, doesn't have to do anything with any technical resources at the company. If I don't change as a human, I can become irrelevant pretty quickly as well. Let's say that I have a human traits and human behaviors that, in my everyday life that I never change. Well, then if the world around me change, guess what? I'm going to be left behind, right? So I'm going to have to adapt in one way or another to what is true for the world I'm living in and the society I'm living in, right? So standing still is never the answer to anything. So a smart man once said, and I believe this to be true, that the fear of change can be bigger than the faith in that the change that we will do will make anything better. And that's one of the bigger reasons why we don't move as people, or why we stand still. We are actually even more afraid to change than the benefits we could draw from that change. We don't believe that the benefits are bigger, so the fear of changing could be greater, hence we stand still. And if that's the case, now we have a problem. And we're going to struggle not only as an organization, but we're going to struggle as a human as well. So we are continuously evolving as humans. You always say that the world will continue to turn without your consent or not. And that's true in this case as well.
I think it's a bastard world.
I know, the damn world continues to move.
It continues to spin, the earth continues spinning.
To spin, continue to move. You get older, you can't stop that either.
It never asked me permission for that one.
No. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Were you ever asked for consent? Do you want to become older? Yes or no? No, it just happened, right? And you have to just bluntly accept that change is an ongoing change. How much we try to fix that with plastic surgery and whatever we try to do to prolong our lives, right? But we are changing currently, and we have to agree, we have to accept that. But it is hard. It is extremely hard because our behaviors is connected to my identity as a person. And when you start to question, or if you start to modulate your identity as a person, here's where the problem comes in from a purely feeling perspective. It's all feelings. I feel bad. I don't want to change. Or I'm super excited. Yes, I want to change. That sounds awesome. So we haven't evolved in that part. One single iota from the person who was curious to take a peek thousands of years ago, what's behind the valley, or what's behind the mountain in the next valley. Because someone went and took a peek. Otherwise, we would still be living in cages. Because if everyone has been... I think about that a lot. What if everyone had just been super comfortable? Like when we lived in cages back in millions of years ago, and they said, no, I'm good here. I'm not gonna go anywhere, right? No, I'm fine. We would still be there. So we are currently looking through, or we're not doing anything, Mr. Musk is doing it, trying to populate Mars. Just take that idea for a quick second and think about that. When he ran into the boardroom of that company and said, guess what we're going to do? I'm pretty sure that everyone in that room wasn't super convinced that was even doable. Some were super excited and super inspired. There were most probably doubters in the room. Like, for instance, the CFO. Probably sat down and said, okay, that sounds great, Elon. What will that cost the company? And can we even afford it? Well, that's besides the point. I have a dream, so we're gonna fulfill it, right? And we're gonna have to make do. But I'm pretty sure that the CFO had something to say about it. I'm pretty sure the COO had something to say just from an operational perspective, all right? Populate Mars, you said. It's never done before. Yeah, let me build a rocket for you. Oh, really? We don't have one, so we have to construct a rocket who can go to Mars and back. Never you mind, that's the biggest problem. We now know we can go to Mars, we just can't go back. That's our problem currently, right? So And all of the things that went into that decision. You want to talk about the digital transformation? Yeah, going to Mars, populating Mars is pretty drastic change, right? So whichever idea we're talking about, how small it might be or how big it might be, whenever I present that idea, humans will not always agree. And here is one of the greatest reasons to why digital transformation stops in multiple organizations, but because we cannot come to a point where we agree as an organization what is right to do.
So you don't need to move your entire village when you come back from behind the valley. You just bring the 2 other people who think it's interesting.
Yes.
And go back with them.
That's the way you solve the issue. Because if you're thinking, okay, so how the hell do we do this now? Well, the people that were interested, the people that was curious when you came back from that IT convention or that meeting or whatever article you presented, and the people said, that sounds awesome, let's look into that. Those are the people you start with. You can't convince thousands of people at one time. It's not going to happen. And unfortunately, too many companies and organizations try to convince the entire organization that this is the right thing to do day one. And that's where we're going to have an issue. We will talk about more about this in the next episode, but this is the biggest problem. Try to find the people who likes the idea. And with those people, you create a concept. And that concept turns into a whatever that product or a system change or whatever it was. And if it's successful, here's the kicker with people. If other people see that the things you tried actually worked, they're going to get interested because success breeds interest. Now you might get 10 or 15 more people to join. And now you create a second team with them. And now you gradually grow your change in the organization. Success breeds interest. So you don't have to move the entire village at one time. That is absolutely correct.
Or, since we're talking 14th century here, probably the guy went over to the next valley, will bring back the plague and kill the entire village. Just saying.
So there is that, right? Absolutely. So let's isolate our change initially and see if it works and if it flies, right? Again. So there is that always, of course. You never know what change might bring. But again, in order to make it successful, you have to start small. You can't convince everyone at one time. Start small with a team that wants to change. Create a success with that team. Could be a very minute, small little success. Doesn't have to be amazingly big. But a small success that breeds interest for more people to join. That's how you kick off a change process over time. And eventually, would you know, the entire village will have moved to the next valley. And then there are a few that still refuses. And guess what? If they feel like they want to be left behind, they're going to be left behind. And that's life, essentially. So, with all that being said, in the next episode, we will talk about a couple of practical tips for how to make this happen in real life in 2021 with a technical solution. Because, again, all I wanted to point out today was we haven't changed as human that much, even though we have changed in the way we act. Yes, we have more technical solution. Yes, society looks drastically different today. We can travel, we can do all of these things, right? The world is so much smaller today than it was back in the 14th century, but the human traits still remain. We still have fears. We still have our needs. We are still in a situation where change could or could not be a very bad thing or a very good thing, depending on what the thing we're talking about is. Because that's a second thing. I might like one idea, so I'll join that, but the other idea I hate it because it sort of I disagreed or it hurt my feelings, right? So I don't want to disagree. So it's not always a yes or it's not always black or white. I could be depending on who I am. I could be that person who is positive towards ideas, or I could be the person who is negative towards ideas. And you can take that as a little homework until next episode. Think about who you are when someone presents a new idea to you. What is your automatic response? Is it, that sounds awesome, tell me more? Or is it, yeah, but you know, all of these problems that could exist if we tried that? Who are you on that spectrum? Are you the person that is pro change, or are you the person who tells everyone all the troubles and problems with the change? So you can think about that as well. So that's where we are. Again, the fear of change can sometimes be greater and bigger than what the actual outcome could present. So I'm more scared of a change than I am interested in what the change could bring me. That's where we stand when we try to implement a new digital platform or new digital whatever tool into an organization where we have to change people's behaviors. That's what we are up against. So technical things is awesome. But until we have robot AIs doing the work for us, where we can actually remove all things as such as feelings and those types of deals, we still have to deal with the people behind the systems. That's where we are. Anything you want to add, Kim?
No, it's just that, yeah, it takes longer to change humans than to change technology. And yeah, that's sad. Let's program humans.
Let's do that. Let's make that our mission.
Direct brain interface here.
Exactly. Let's do that to make some proper money, right? So, if anything you want to add to this, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us at citynetwork.eu/podcast. Until next time, have a great weekend whenever you are listening to this, and we catch you in a week's time. Have a great week. Bye.
Hubba.